dreams into nightmares. Destroying all he sees. Now begins a new adventure for...
Major thanks goes out to South Park there for the song. It's been stuck in my head ever since I saw the episode, and I thought, you know what? I need to work that into a video. And fortunately, Jeff Hardy's Fugly World Heavyweight Championship gave me that opportunity, so awesome. But I said I was going to be more positive this week. My top 5 favorite things about professional wrestling in 2010. What were the 5 things that I enjoyed the most as a wrestling fan this year? It could be a match, interview, segment, storyline, pay-per-view event, whatever. Although I didn't watch many pay-per-views this year, to be honest. What were the 5 things that really stood out to me and made me think, you know what? If wrestling were more like that on a consistent basis, I'd be singing its praises a lot more often, and I'd be a much happier fan. So let's get started. Number 5, January 4th, the first night that TNA and WWE went head-to-head on Monday nights. This was just fun. I had my criticisms about both shows, and obviously the Monday Night Wars didn't last. TNA sunk like a rock, but for the one night, it was a lot of fun. It had this air of unpredictability about it, because Bret Hart was going to be on one show, Hulk Hogan was going to show up on the other show, and both shows were live, and it was just this crazy atmosphere of I don't know what both shows are going to bring. And it was a lot like having the Monday Night Wars back when WWE and WCW were both very strong products and trying to put on the best shows possible. Because, like I said before, that stretch in '97, I thought both shows were great, and I miss having that. And I often say that the worst thing that ever happened to wrestling, even though the show sucked towards the end, losing WCW and ECW as well, caused so many problems in the business. I think WWE became complacent, and I think it made it harder for other wrestling companies to come up and challenge them the way WCW did. And among other things, gave the wrestlers less places to work, yada, 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 all those things. But for this one night, we had that kind of feeling back. And it was, like I said, it was a tremendous feeling. Bret Hart didn't really pay off well for the WWE, and Hulk Hogan, the numbers speak for themselves. But like I said, for the one night, it was pretty cool. A lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. And if I had to pick a better show, I would give it to TNA just for the AJ Angle match alone. That match was one of my favorite matches of the year, and it was so damn good that I walked away from that show feeling like, man, that was awesome. I like that. And, even though both shows featured, like, the NWO and Ric Flair and the Nasty Boys and Bret Hart and Vince McMahon and DX and all these old concepts, it was an exciting experience for that one night. It's something that's been lost in today's modern wrestling. All right, number 4, the Kurt Angle versus Mr. Anderson feud. I thought they had a very intense series of matches. I thought their match at Lockdown was awesome, and I really liked the back and forth between the two. I wasn't very high on Anderson when he came in, mainly because I felt like his not succeeding in the WWE was largely due to him either failing wellness policy or having a wellness violation or just getting hurt all the time. And he just got this reputation for being unreliable. So I didn't imagine that he'd turn out well for TNA, but he did. He became one of my favorite characters, and sure enough, he's one of the best parts of the show now. Of course, he got hurt, but that's Jeff Hardy's fault. But, yeah, I really enjoyed their series of matches. They brought a lot of intensity, and their match at Lockdown was phenomenal. Awesome, awesome match. And, again, I'd like to see more things like that in WWE and TNA more often. Number 3, my favorite segment of the year, the Birth of Nexus on that episode of Raw. And I really should have looked up the date before I started filming, but it was that episode that people said was one of the worst episodes of all time up until the ending, where the NXT rookies stormed the ring, beat the hell out of everybody, destroyed the ring, and just tore shit up. And it was just an amazingly well done segment. It was shocking. It felt like it was something that was really happening. I got sucked into it because it was very believable how they pulled it off. And it was just an excellent closing segment because it left me thinking, man, I got to tune into Raw next week to find out what happens. And I hadn't felt that way about Raw in a long time, especially after that long stretch of horrible guest host shows. Like Raw 2009 is, I don't care what everybody says, worst wrestling show since WCW 2000. And that's saying a lot. But this segment was amazing, and it made me want to tune into Raw. And it was so un-modern WWE, so unlike the modern WWE product, because normally when they try to do things like this, and I'm going to cite the Triple H and Randy Orton home invasion angle as an example, it usually comes off as really staged and really phony and or cheesy or something like that. But this was just really intense, very brutal, and was awesome. And regardless of how I feel the Nexus angle turned out, and whether or not I think it's lost steam since then, and whether or not I'm a fan of a lot of these talents, really the only one in the group I like is Danielson, and he's not in the group anymore. But regardless of all my negative feelings post the initial segment itself was excellent, and I would like to see a lot more segments like that in wrestling. I'm not saying WWE has to tear the ring apart every week, but I like to be left feeling shocked and intrigued by what may happen next, and that's something that's lost on today's modern product. So do more segments like this, and I guarantee your fan base will be a lot more excited. Number 2, Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 26. Now, going back to the match at 25, I really didn't like how that match was set up because it felt like a rehash of what they did in 97, and it was nowhere near as good. And it just felt like, looking at it on paper, it's like, oh, Undertaker needs to defend the streak, and they're just going to feed Shawn Michaels to him. Shawn jobs here. They may as well put that label right over the match. And sure enough, Shawn lost. The match itself was great, but I didn't feel like the storyline complemented the match as well. This year, though, they did a much better job of promoting this match. Shawn Michaels, in particular, fantastic performances in most of the segments, where he acted like a drug addict that just had to get that win. He just had to have the high of defeating The Undertaker at WrestleMania, and it was just perfectly done. It just some of Shawn's best work in recent memory. Of course, he was coming off the heels of that disastrous DX reunion where it was so bad that Shawn Michaels detracted from a wrestling show. It made me not want to watch Shawn Michaels, and that's amazing. But he bounced back with this angle, and I felt like putting his career on the line really made the match feel more important and made it feel like more of a special attraction. Even though, once again, this year it was kind of obvious that Shawn was going to lose, but putting his career on the line made it seem more worthwhile. It was like, wow, this could be the last time I see Shawn Michaels. I want to check that out. And the match was great, as one would expect. And you had a great storyline complementing a great match. So it was a much better payoff. And, if you want to ask me which match I like more, the 26 or the 25 match, I tend to lean towards the 26 match because I was more excited for it. It was better built up. And the match was excellent. And they got the main event spot, which it absolutely should have been, because nothing else on that card could have matched it. So, there we go. But my number one favorite thing about professional wrestling in 2010, and it will probably come as no surprise to anybody given how much on my videos I put over tag team wrestling and how much I'm a big fan of tag teams. That goes back to the first the first tag match I remember watching was the Hart Foundation versus Demolition at SummerSlam 1990, and I just loved it, and I've been a big fan of tag team wrestling ever since. And maybe it's also because I'm a football fan and I just like team sports or whatever, but I'm just naturally drawn to tag teams, and TNA has usually been able to boast a pretty strong tag team division up until 2010, where they brought in the Nasty Boys and they feuded with Team 3D, and Morgan and Hernandez won the belts for some reason. And then Morgan held the belts by himself, changing his tag partner every week. And then the band came in and they won the belts, and that was awful. So they took the thing I liked most about their product and they destroyed it. I'll be honest, I like TNA's tag division usually more than the X division, even in the old days, like 2004, 2005, when I first started watching. And that says a lot. Well, maybe not in 2006 when it was AJ, Joe, and Daniels. But for the most part, I've just really been a big fan of their tag division. And they kind of ruined that, but they fixed it with this one series of matches, Beer Money and the Motor City Machine Guns. And that was my favorite thing of the year. That series of matches was phenomenal. I ordered Victory Road. Last pay-per-view I ordered this year. Loved that match they had. Excellent, excellent tag match. And then they went on and they gave us the Best of 5 series, which maybe was overkill to do a different gimmick every week, but all the matches were different, and they kept topping themselves, because the ladder match was great, but then the cage match was even better. And then the Ultimate X match was even better than that. And then the 2 out of 3 falls match from the whole effing show, which, TNA, you made a mistake, because I guarantee you I would have paid money if you had put that match on pay-per-view. Just saying. But no, you had to do your ECW reunion show. Oh well, didn't get my money. But that match was unbelievable. It was fantastic tag team match, and I loved every minute of it. Probably my favorite match of the year. I know I've professed my love for Taker and Michaels and Angle and Anderson and matches like that, but this tag match was just amazing. I'm marking out right now just talking about it. I was sad when it was over. When the whole series was over, I was like, man, no more Beer Money and Machine Guns. That's kind of sad, but this was an excellent series of matches. I felt like the Guns and Beer Money proved that they are definitely the 2 best tag teams in mainstream wrestling. WWE has nothing that matches them. Maybe the Hart Dynasty, but they have nobody to work with. And I think the Guns have turned out to be the MVPs of TNA in 2010. I mean, they've been great all year when given the chance to show it. And I just love this series of matches. Great. Major credit goes out to TNA for doing it. Major credit goes out to the Guns and Beer Money for giving it to me. And the amazing effort they put into the matches. And it was phenomenal. So that concludes my positive video. And it kind of felt good. I thought it was going to go against my nature a little bit. I might have to throw up in my mouth a little bit, the thought of having to say nice things, but I like it. See, when I enjoy wrestling, I get like all excited and happy because I'm a fan and I want to enjoy it. And when it's good, I am going to sing its praises, and I will say it was excellent. And these 5 examples that I pointed out are great examples of wrestling done right, and how I want TNA and WWE to be more like these things, because based on what I just highlighted, they can definitely do it, and they can bring it when things are clicking or when they put their best foot forward. So here's hoping we get more of that, and here's hoping I do more positive videos in the future. So later, everybody, and I'll see you next week.